speaker this evening is none other than the Director of USANA's Research and Development, Dr. Jeremy TIAN.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is Jeremy TIAN. I'm a director of the R&D in USANA Health Science here at the headquarters in Salt Lake City, USA. So I'm glad to have this opportunity tonight to talk a little bit of the digestive system, how it works, and how our product, which is digestive enzyme that I'm talking about tonight, would help with that process. Okay, we'll start a little bit big picture from here. Why do we eat? Everybody probably know the answer, but of course that's a relevant question here. Basically, we'll break it down, what we eat, all the stuff in our food, into two big categories. The first, we call it macronutrients, which we ingest in a large amount, normally about 1 gram per day. Now, there's also something that is much smaller quantity, we call it micronutrients, but very important. Those things would include vitamins and the minerals, as what I will show here. We have a lot of products just for vitamins and the minerals. You probably would already know. But in terms of the macronutrient, we break it down again into 3 components. This is pretty popular names. I bet you already know it. So first is carbohydrates, and then we have fatty acids, which is basically under the lipid category, and then we have proteins. Something I circled here. This looks like a period is basically what recommended by the government for a good healthy food structure. Now, and the second tier, we should have a lot of fruits and vegetables, right? Everybody knows that. And I circle here, this is a pineapple, right? Why we circle the pineapple in here, I will let you know later. Now let's talk a little bit about the macronutrients. Number 1 is carbohydrate. People call them carbs. Carb is very important for our primary calorie energy needs, right? Our body, our human body, evolved with carbohydrate, so that it gave glucose. Most of you have probably heard that. That is the energy substrate, the energy, the form, the molecule, and our body used for energy need for every single cells, right? So it's really important for energy, calorie. Protein is also important, as you would know, that the protein does not provide energy that much for our body need, but our body functions, all those structures, all those enzymes, that pretty much protein. So protein is really important in our body's cells function. However, under very emergency or hard conditions, our carbohydrates run out. Our body started a process called catabolism. It started to break down proteins for energy need as well. Fat. Well, fat is only present in the animals, right? The plants, they don't have fat. They have oil, but they don't have fat. Why we have fat? Fat is very important for energy. It's different from carbohydrate, different from glucose, but it is a very concentrated, very dense form of energy. Each gram of fat provides more than 9 kilocalorie of energy, which is more than double of what glucose can provide for you. So we have fat, we'll move around as animals, right? Fat is very useful for us. Now, how do we get this nutrient from our food? Here comes our digestive system. We gotta to digest all this food. We eat the so-called raw materials, right? We cannot just bring this materials, this nutrient, undigested straight into our blood, right? We got to break it down into very basic unit. Carbohydrate has to be broken down into glucose and other sugars in order to be absorbed, get into the blood, and transported through the blood to our cells. And then the cell can make use of them, right? So digestion is really important. How do we digest? We basically have two ways, very simple, mechanical and chemical. Mechanical starts from very beginning in our mouth, right? You start to munch the food, and your teeth cut the food and grind the food so that it gets into very small pieces. But our mouth is not only for mechanical actions, though. You see. Our saliva has beta amylase. Beta amylase is an enzyme that helps to break down carbohydrate, right? So the digestion, the chemical digestion, started pretty early in the mouth. And then later on, when the food gets to your stomach, your intestine, that's where the chemical digestion, or we call it the enzymatic digestion, really kickstarts, right? Now, basically, what are those enzymes that breaks down our food? We got the enzymes that breaks down carbohydrates. So it goes with the categories of the macronutrients. And then we got enzymes that breaks down protein. We call them protease and peptidase. And then we have lipase that breaks down fat, right? So just keep in mind, we have three macronutrients and with three different categories of enzymes, right? Now in the mouth, we now already have mechanical and chemical actions. Esophagus is basically the passage, right, from our mouth to our stomach. It's that much long, but it does have pretty important functions. It has this movement called peristalsis, right? It pushes the food down to the stomach. People have said that, have observed that even the peristalsis, the force is such strong that even you put a person upside down, right, the head on the bottom, the esophagus can still transport the food from your mouth to your stomach. So it's pretty strong. It does have some function in terms of the mechanical and the chemical as well. In the stomach, okay, I'm gonna have to add a little bit. Stomach is such a remarkable place. Many of you probably know that it produces that hydrochloric acid. The pH, the measure of that acid is so low that the gastric juice could even break down those metals. If you happen to have the metal in your stomach, it just break down. So that the physiological function of the stomach is really to break down the food, kill all those bacteria that happen in the present in the food. And so it has immune functions as well. But of course, on the chemical side, it also has this enzyme called pepsin that breaks down the proteins in the stomach. Now, when it gets to the small intestine, it's really the chemical digestion started to get to its peak, right? And what is in this small intestine? Right, small intestine divided into different parts, such as duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. The top is the duodenum, right? The bile, which comes from liver, it gets to duodenum, released from there, and that is really important for breakdown the fat. Right, fat. If you think of it, it tend to be stuck by itself. Right, it's hard to clean if you get a grease in your kitchen, right? Because it's hard. It's not water soluble. So what bile does is really as a detergent. Some of you clean the kitchen with a detergent. The bile is kind of that function to dissolve the fat, so that it can be better breakdown by the enzymes. So bile is important. And then of course we got a lot of enzymes coming from pancreatic, pancreas. So it gets there through pancreatic juice. It has all those enzymes to break down almost everything. And the small intestine itself would secrete some of the enzymes as well. Now, finally, the food gets to the large intestine, right? Large intestine used to be considered as just a passage, to hold all this waste to be excreted by our body. But now people started to realize more and more the importance of the large intestine. Not only it has some physiological functions such as absorb water and so for some vitamins such as vitamin K, vitamin B12, it is also very important in a way that it holds a lot of bacteria. We call the bacteria flora, right? Now people call it microbiome. If you read the newspapers, read some science, you would know that the microbiome is really important. Oh, probiotics, right? Many people have known that the probiotics is a slight selection of the microbiome that we think they are very useful, so we actually made them as a product. Okay. Now we get to a little bit of the problems. What if the whole process goes around, right? There's a whole lot of problems that if you're a gastroenterologist, this is just one specific discipline of medicine. You're going to spend years to learn all about this problems. But now we will talk tonight. We'll focus on one thing, which is called indigestion or poor digestion or dyspepsia. In old days, people call that. What is indigestion? Well, it shows up as various symptoms. You don't want to eat. You just feel a full stomach most of the time. Even this little bit of food, it makes you full, and you don't want to eat anymore, right? The doctors call it bloating or flatulence. And then you may have intolerance. A little bit of food that make you want to sick, and you want to vomit, and sometimes it brings diarrhea as well. And other things that will not go one by one. It is a pretty popular, a common problem. People some people who put together those slides help me to get this statistics, which says 50 to 90% of Filipinos lactose tolerance. It's It's very common, but it's not only in Philippines, I have to say, it's very common in US and as well. Now, how do we deal with that problem, right? Of course, first, you're going to have to approach that issue with lifestyle change, with dietary habit change. That is the number one thing, first and foremost, because after all, the digestive tissue, number one task is it has things related to your food, right? The things you eat. Stay hydrated. It's very important that if you are dehydrated, the digestive doesn't have much juice to help. It needs that to work. The eating habit is, I mentioned eating habit is very important. That you want to, when you chew the food, you want to chew slow. So that is the mechanical function really does it work before you send it down as a workload for the for the gastric and the stomach and the intestines. You don't want to eat too much at a time because that increases the workload of your digestive tract. And a good habit is not to eat so many cold food. Don't drink much ice water. That kind of increase the burden of your stomach and the intestine. Fiber is a good thing. It helps you helps with the movement of your gastric and intestine. Exercise, of course, is great, and a good body weight is also great. Digestive system is very important. It gets all the nutrients to help you stay healthy. That's for sure. Now, one thing that may help you, we're getting to our product now, is digestive enzyme. And an additional thing on top of all those things I just mentioned. Now, what is digestive enzyme in the form of a product? I did describe digestive enzyme right in the previous slide. It's divided into three categories. It breaks down those macronutrients, carbohydrate, lipid, and the protein, right? So that they become basic units so that they can be absorbed by the intestinal cells, right? Now, what is in our product in terms of those enzymes, right? Okay, we got all those numbers, but basically the alpha amylase, that is the thing, breaks down your carbohydrate. Bromelain is a protein enzyme. Protease is also the stuff that breaks proteins. Lipase breaks down lipid. The fat, lactase breaks down one specific form of carbohydrate called lactose. So for those people who are lactose intolerance, many Asians are. When they drink milk, they are intolerant. They cannot cope with the lactose in the milk. They have diarrhea. So for those people, it's going to be particularly useful to take this lactase. Papain is one the enzyme breaks protein. Cellulose is fiber. And it's insoluble fiber. Normally, it was not absorbed by, not digested and absorbed by the human body. But if you give it some enzyme, it breaks it down and helps to absorb some of those things. Artichoke is another enzyme here, but because artichoke has some properties, the benefits, and it helps digestion, so we included them in this product. This is a little bit more information of those enzymes. Now, I probably wanted to bring a special attention to this two of these protein enzymes. One is called bromelain, and then one is called peptide. What is bromelain? Bromelain, our body actually doesn't produce bromelain. It is a protein enzyme, digestive enzyme, but it's actually the extract we got from this vegetable, from this okay, that gets back to the previous slide of pineapple, right? I circled that. So that's really, pineapple has this enzyme, and it's useful for digestive protein. So we added that to our product. Pine is actually similar, but it's produced by papaya, another fruit. It's also good at the digestive proteins. This is different enzymes digest protein with slightly different functions. Where they chop the protein is slightly different. They choose different sequence. So you get a more comprehensive spectrum of the protein enzymes that helps you to better break down the proteins. All right, so that's what we say about the product. It is more comprehensive, right? It has a spectrum, and it's a wide range. It helps you to release. And at least it will help some people with special conditions for sure to release their indigesting symptoms. I'm getting to the end of my talk. For the sake of time, just want to go very quickly through this final slides. We wanted to say that the manufacturing process in USANA is excellent. It's no doubt. We have this high quality manufacturing process, and we have this materials. The raw materials is also very excellent quality. And in terms of the potency, the strength, the quality, purity, all those things. No problem. And this is our founder, Dr. Wayne. I get to see him often. We talk, and I know him by person, and he is really a scientist. When he talk about the science, it's just that high standard science. I can assure you of that. All right, so I'm a little bit over time.